focus on what's happening in New York right now. Overall, crime is up 38% in New York City. Shootings are up 32%, transit crimes 70%, car thefts 93%. And of course, perspective here is crucial. The New York Times points out there were 488 homicides last year. Far cry from what the city experienced in the early 90s when there were 2,000 murders in a single year. But make no mistake, there is, at the very least, among everyone you talk to, a feeling that crime right now is an urgent issue. Part of that might come from the tragic, heartbreaking reality and the images that ensued across broadcast networks here and around the country, like what we saw yesterday, when for the second time in 5 days, thousands, including many NYPD officers, gathered in Midtown Manhattan to pay their respects to Officer Wilbert Mora, who was, along with his partner, Officer Jason Rivera, killed while responding to a domestic violence call. A Gallup poll conducted in early January reveals that just 24% of voters were very or somewhat satisfied with policies to reduce or control crime. That's down from 47% 2 years ago. Obviously, some of that is political. The biggest drop-off has come among Republican voters, signaling dissatisfaction with a president whom they don't support. Indeed, conversations on crime are overwhelmingly political. Republicans are eager to cast Democrats as soft on crime, going so far as to suggest that President Biden is somehow complicit for the rise of crime. Ahead of the midterms, the GOP will seek to frame efforts surrounding police accountability as somehow counter to the goals of cracking down on crime and violence. Fully aware of that effort to distort, President Joe Biden today traveled to New York City to meet with the city's new mayor, Eric Adams, a former police captain. Among the topics they addressed head-on, defunding the police. Listen.
You know, Mayor Adams, you and I agree. The answer is not to abandon our streets. That's not the answer. The answer is to come together. Police and communities, building trust and making us all safer. The answer is not to defund the police. It's to give you the tools, the training, the funding to be partners, to be protectors, and community needs you, and know the community.
Joining us now, former NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton, the Reverend Al Sharpton's here, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation, and the president of the National Action Network. Rev, to you first, your thoughts on today's visit and the message coming from the president.
Well, I thought that it is important that we give the message that he gave about dealing with the proliferation of guns. I think the fact that they dealt a lot on saying that they also had the Attorney General there, that they were going to deal with gun trafficking, was important. None of these guns are manufactured in the inner cities that we're seeing a spike in crime, and that they are going to deal with gun trafficking. I think, though, that we have to be careful that as we deal with this, that we not go back into things that in any way, shape, or form violated people's civil liberties and civil rights that has been proven not to be effective in fighting crime. So when we say to the president and to the mayor, who was with us and testified in that regard, that stop and frisk was biased, when we say that, it is not only biased and wrong, it was proven that crime went down as we brought down stop and frisk. So we can't go to what is something easily to grab that is ineffective in dealing with the gun violence that all of us want to see gone down. None of us condone what happened to those policemen or what happens every day in our communities where we see even youngsters gunned down. The question is how we're imagining policing in a way that effectively deals with crime and at the same time protects people's rights.
Commissioner Bratton, our new mayor is dealing with fielding questions on these issues of gun violence and frankly, the tragedies that have befallen two families of the fallen officers. Let me show you how he responded to questions from my colleague, Gabe Gutierrez.
Does defunding the police work?
No, it does not, and it's the wrong bumper sticker. Public safety is not a bumper sticker. We need to do an analysis of our police agencies Look and see how many people are doing non-law enforcement jobs. I have too many police officers that are doing clerical duties. If you're inside, I need to know why you're inside. If you're not, I need you to put on that bulletproof vest and do the job that New York has hired you for, to protect us against violent people.
Commissioner, your thoughts?
I described it as the political hashtag in terms of the defund the police movement, which has now been pushed back very strongly, including by the president today, which is good. We need to refund the police, refund them to adequately train them for all the responsibilities that placed on them. In the 21st century, those new responsibilities are huge. But the traditional responsibilities of dealing with the mentally ill, dealing with the drug addicted, dealing with the violent criminal, they are still there, even if we deal with terrorism and deal with technology. So refunding the police is essential. That's somewhat what the president took to today. The issue going forward, however, is the discussion around guns. Nice what they're talking about. That will have some impact, but with 440 million guns in the country, they're here. We can stop some of them coming in. The issue is who has guns in their hands and who is using them and what's happening to them when they use them. That's the problem at this time in city after city, and why you're seeing the rising rates of crime in city after city. You have demoralized police, you have diminished police in terms of a significant loss of numbers of police. You have prosecutors in many cities that are no longer seeking to prosecute for some of these crimes, certainly the case in New York. So we need to do a total rethinking of what we're trying to do here. It's clearly what we're doing at the moment is not working with these rising crime rates. We need to identify with precision policing who is committing the crime, get them before prosecutors and judges who are willing to basically penalize them appropriately for murders, in shootings, and the mayhem. New York City is a city in fear. I have not seen it this bad since 1990 when I first got here. And we changed that. So by 2018, this was the safest large city in America, had been for a number of years.